doesn't ultimately dictate what your life has to be. So I'm a firm believer when I say change the narrative, it's really changing the way you see yourself, changing your perspective on yourself so that that allows other people perspectives on you. Because the reality is a lot of times we have a viewpoint of ourselves and then we feel some type of way when somebody views us that way. But if we don't view ourselves as champions, if we don't view ourselves as winners, if we don't view ourselves as successful, it's hard for other people to do that. So I'm just here to help everybody just continuously remember to change the narrative around our lives and around different things that we think, do, and expect of ourselves. So as I put my host hat back on, we have some brief remarks. I'm super thankful and excited this year. And could you do me a favor? Could you turn the lights in the room on? Our speakers wanted to be able, the speakers that are coming to the stage wanted to be able to see the audience as they talk to them. But I'm very honored to have some state, county, and city representatives here today. So the first speaker that we'll have is Commissioner Julie Willer. Julie Willer is a seasoned Fortune 100 business leader. She has more than 30 years of leadership experience in industrial and medical business sectors. Prior to her role as president commissioner, she was the general manager of a medical device business at General Electric. She has extensive experience in strategic planning, business development, and operational leadership. She has experience leading both domestic and global businesses and has lived in Hong Kong and Japan. Julie supports her local Red Line community as a member of the BPO Elks number 1592. She's a member of the Women's Giving Circle, an active member of the Women's Business Center organization, and is a member of the Rotary Club of York. She co-chairs the Stepping Up initiative and is a York County Economic Alliance board member and is active in many other community organizations. She's a near and dear friend of my heart, and since the day I met her, she told me, Tavon, anything you need, just let me know. So I'm super blessed and thankful for Julie to be joining us today. Guys, can you put your hands together as Julie comes to the stage?
Not quite as tall as Tavon. So, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Great. It's wonderful to see so many here today. I really have to thank Tavon for organizing this symposium and for the invitation to attend. A bit later, you'll be hearing from a few individuals who I hold very dear to my heart, who I believe are quite distinguished in our community. Individuals like District Attorney Dave Sunday, Judge Amber Kraft, and Commissioner Muldrow. They care deeply about the quality of life in our community and are committed to helping individuals lead productive lives and feel fulfilled here at their home in York County. I take that task very seriously as well. As a county commissioner, much of what our county government does touches your lives every day. I believe that our county government can be a force for good and positive change in the lives of our residents. My job as president commissioner is to play a small part in ensuring that takes place. Therefore, I want to share an example of what our community is doing to help those who have been incarcerated re-enter our community as seamlessly as possible and feel fulfilled and lead productive and healthy lives in York County. This past Thursday, 2 days ago, our community made history. We officially opened York County's Reentry Opportunity Center.
Yeah.
This was the first of its kind in Pennsylvania. Yes, the entire state of Pennsylvania. York County is taking bold steps, and once again, we are leading the way. As a county leader, solving problems with a holistic approach is essential if we want to tackle stubborn systemic issues and drive sustainable change. This Opportunity Center is a perfect example of a collaborative approach that has brought together a spectrum of stakeholders, ensuring that all had a seat at the table to help solve tough challenges. There were many organizations that made that center possible. Partners such as Grow to Go, CareerLink, Open Arms Recovery, our many faith-based organizations, government agencies, and family members of reentrants, and of course, the Advantage Program. There are many, many more I could mention. Those organizations and individuals have a common and shared desire. That is, to provide those re-entering society with resources to help them lead productive lives and reduce the chance of recidivism. The center will help reintroduce reentrants to our community and also reintroduce our community to those reentrants. We welcome and encourage every opportunity we have for partnerships, innovation, and creativity to get a job done. And I'm proud to say, I think we have an incredibly innovative community and incredibly creative people in our community, many of them sitting in front of you today. We identified excess capacity at our prison. It sat vacant for a bit, and several of us, me included, really began to evaluate how we could productively utilize this space. This space is now our Reentry Opportunity Center, which we like to call the ROC, and is a great example of fiscal stewardship and creativity at work. The location is ideal. It's located on a major bus route, near food and shopping, and it's near employers who hire reentrants. One of our county's guiding principles is we are innovative. This center is a fantastic example of this. Our county's team of professionals are constantly looking proactively for efficient and effective solutions to problems within our community. We consistently seek opportunities to improve the way we get things done and streamline our services. The county has a strategic plan, and 3 pillars of that plan are our purpose, mission, and vision. Our purpose, to strengthen the quality of life for those in our community. Our mission, to build a better York County. And our vision, to inspire opportunity for a unified community. I am incredibly proud of what we've accomplished with the ROC through collaboration. And the symposium today is another great example of collaboration. If you'll indulge me in a few more seconds, I'd like to make a simple call to action to everyone here as well. In some way, shape, and form, we all care about others, and that's evidenced by your presence here today. To ensure our Opportunity Center is successful, we do need volunteers. We need individuals willing to serve as mentors, role models. We need men and women willing to coach others, to connect others, and yes, to assure them that we do care about them and we are here to help. So if you want to play that role, please grab me afterwards, or I'm pretty sure if you get your information to Tevon, he knows how to track me down. I've spoken to reentrants, and I know from their firsthand stories, reentry can be a lonely road, replete with uncertainty. We are fortunate that there are many connectors in our community willing to help an individual along their way. There's room for more of them. There are many more seats at the table, so please take me up on that invitation. Again, thank you, Tevon, for your leadership, your passion, and your commitment. We're so lucky to have you in our community. Thank you.
That was amazing, and I know some of the Advantage kids. Well, I think everybody got a little yellow booklet so they can write and take notes. So I'm pretty sure as the day goes on, I want to be asking, I know specifically the Advantage kids, about what they wrote. Whoever actually remembers some of the stuff that was spoken will get the prize. But like I always tell them, the mind forgets, the paper doesn't. So please feel free to take notes as we indulge in some conversations today. The next speaker that will come to the stage to greet us is none other than Representative Carol Hill Evans. Carol Evans is a state representative and was elected in the state legislature on November 8th of 2016 to represent the 95th Legislative District in York County. She's a native of York City and was educated in the York City School District prior to earning a Bachelor of Science degree of Business from Penn State, York. Representative Hill Evans' prior work was in human resources, and she retired after 27 years from Caterpillar, Inc. Her previous political experience included 9 years of serving on York City Council as both vice president and president. It is this experience with policy, legislation, and collaboration that helps Carol form important relationships and gives her the ability to work with all parties to help solve the issues facing the 95th District. Some of those issues include focusing on equitable education funding, improving economic development, addressing homelessness, and identifying and providing resources for our veterans and first-line defenders. And guys, I don't know if you know this, but Carol Evans isn't only a family member of mine, but she is a master gardener as well. Maybe you guys should take her up on that. She knows how to plant just about everything. Without further ado, could you guys help welcome Representative Carol Hill Evans to the stage?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think we can do a little better than that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There we go. I know you're out there now. Thank you. Yes, I am State Representative Carol Hill Evans, born and raised here in the city of York. And now I serve not just the people that I grew up with, as well as some of their children and grandchildren, but an extended family, because now I also represent not just the city of York, but all of Spring Garden Township, West York, and North York as well. My journey to this has been just simply because I got pissed off because people were talking about my city. And it's like, that is not the city that I grew up in. These people are not representing me. And my husband at the time said, well, if you don't like it, get off your dead butt and do something about it. So I did. I raised my hand and I got involved, and I got involved at the political level, a level which I never saw myself being, because I wanted to be an attorney. And a lot of people say when you're a politician, you're also an attorney, but that just is not true. So I just, through policy, through listening to our residents, finding out the things that are important to them, asking, what can I do to help? How can I help? My greatest joy is in serving the public. My greatest fear is in serving the public inadequately, I'll put it that way. And so it's a challenge every day to hear, to listen to all of my constituents, to find out what's important. And when I first got to the State House, I kept hearing about criminal justice reform. It was a buzzword, criminal justice reform. Just exactly what does that mean? And then I started doing some digging around and listening and talking to my colleagues and finding out criminal justice reform is the be-all and end-all. It is not a buzzword. It is people's lives. It is things that they have, the choices that they've made that have put them into an unjust system. Now, we know that the system, the judiciary system, the justice system is there to serve justice. But when you're stuck in a system that is unjust, you never get the justice that you are entitled to, the justice that you need in order to, yes, you might have made a foolish mistake or a foolish choice when you were a child, but now you're an adult and you're still, even after you've recovered, even after you've made your life so much better, you're still serving a sentence, and it's just not fair. So I was really excited when I heard about this clean slate. Anybody hear about the clean slate legislation? Okay, so let me tell you, I'm glad you asked. So, clean slate, I'm gonna start by just saying last year, 2023, Governor Shapiro, and he signed into law 12 bills that would help our criminal justice system, that would help to improve it, to help make it so that people who made mistakes when they were young now have the opportunity, because they've shown over the years of growth and being in their community, that they're not the same people as adults that they were as children, that they actually have learned. And so I'm proud to be part of legislation, of a legislature that has signed on to these bills. They're common sense steps, and they're going to help Pennsylvanians who want to rebuild their lives and meaningfully contribute to their communities, making the justice system more fair, more effective, and more just. So the Clean Slate Law was spearheaded by Jordan Harris. If you're from Philadelphia, I know you've heard of Jordan Harris. He is now the Majority Appropriations Chair for the House. And this was his baby. Clean Slate was his baby. And what it does, it extends automatic expungement eligibility. People come to me all the time and say, how can I get my record expunged? What do I have to do in order to get a pardon? This bill helps to address those problems. And it extends automatic expungement eligibility to certain nonviolent felony offenses, and it shortens the waiting period for misdemeanor and summary offenses. It also addresses an issue first identified by an investigation which found that county courthouses were cutting off access to case files that should be public by warning local officials that they should not seal entire case files just because one portion of that case file is eligible for expungement. Under the measure, judges have to tailor probation terms to individual circumstances, such as employment and child care responsibilities. It establishes a presumption against total confinement, and it directs judges to avoid re-incarcerating someone for minor violations of probation terms. And I would encourage you, if you're taking notes, write down on your note, look up Clean Slate Law. Find out what it is, what it does, and how it helps. Please, I encourage you to do that. I want to say, just from a personal standpoint, I've never served time in jail, and I applaud all of those of you who have and have turned your lives around. I'm very, very proud of you, each of you and all of you. Growing up as a child, I had an uncle, Uncle Bill. He was cool, smooth Uncle Bill. Played the piccolo, wore his little tam. He was sharp as he could be. And he had friends, and he and his friends went out on whatever it is they went out on one night. And they robbed, I think it was a bank. And although he was not part of that, he was part of the group that did it. And when they caught him, he would not dime out his friends and ended up spending 11 years in prison because he wouldn't give a name to the police. He was being loyal to his friends, he was not being loyal to himself, and he wasn't being loyal to his family. And how that affected me as a kid is that my mother, who was his sister, she made it a point that because he was in jail, she was not going to turn her back on him, and she was going to make sure that she got to go and visit him. And of course, as her child, I had to go along with her. Not a place I ever wanted to go, but when I got there, we were kids, and at the time, we were not allowed to go beyond a certain point. But every time we would go, my mom would go behind this big gate, and all I could hear was this clank. And I never knew if I was ever going to see my mom again. And over the years, after Uncle Bill got out, and I thought about all those trips we made to Greaterford, and I made it my life mission to never have to go to jail. I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to put my family through that, because when we make those choices, and I say this to the kids, when you make choices, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your families. And it affects them in ways that you'll never be able to know. So when you're making those choices, make sure that you're not thinking about just yourself. Make sure you're thinking about the consequences and how your actions are going to affect your family. And please, think twice. Take a moment, take a deep breath, and think about what it is you're getting ready to do. To this day, as a legislator, we like to go into, the SCIs to talk to the inmates to find out what their concerns are. I can't do it. I can't make myself go in there. And this is something that I'm really working on to try to get over that feeling of that clank. It's in my head, and I don't want to be there, but I understand now that as an adult, it's time for me to do some reform of my own. It's time for me to get over some of those barriers that are keeping me from being able to do my job as best I can. But I say to the kids, and I'm going to wrap up, but I say to the kids, your first line of defense is education. Make sure you get your education. Listen to me when I say your first line of defense has to be education. Once you get your education, no one can take that away from you. That's yours. You can develop it. You can do with it whatever you want to do. You can make it work for you to give you the kind of life that you really are dreaming of. So as a child, I say your first line of defense is education. As an adult, I say your first line of defense is being educated to what's happening at your state level, at your federal level, at your local level. Educate yourself to exactly what is going on. And everybody always asks me, what can I do to get involved? Educate yourself, raise your hand, get involved, be the change that you want to see. You can't do it from the outside. Change doesn't happen from the outside, it happens from the inside. So you can stand outside and you can say, I don't like this, and that sucks, and this is bad, and I don't like those people. That doesn't do anything. Get inside, find out what does work, find out how it works, and find out how to be the change you want to see. And with that, I'm just going to say thank you to the organizers. Thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you, panel. I'm very proud of you. I hold you in my heart. I will pray for you, although I don't know you. I know your heart. I hear your stories, and I totally admire what you're doing. And if there's ever anything I can do at the state level, just let me know. Please, I'm available. Thank you all.
then last but certainly not least, we have the mayor of York City, Mayor Michael Helfrich. Born the son of Kenneth R. Helfrich from Girard Avenue in the city of York and Christine Hartman from Frankfurt, Germany, Michael grew up in West York, but spent a lot of his time in the city of York in his youth. Michael graduated in the top 5 of his class in 1988 from West York High School. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me introduce Michael Helfrich to the stage.
Thank you, Tavon, and thank you to the Advantage Program for having me here, and also for all the work that you do with young folks here in the city. I didn't write remarks down, and sometimes that's very beneficial, sometimes not, so stick with me, because so many people have said important things that I want to reiterate. I really appreciate Carol Hill Evans and having her say what she said about education. Education is so important. But guess what? You can still make a lot of stupid mistakes when you're very educated. And as was pointed out, I graduated in the top 5 of my class. Why am I now a reformed felon? By the way, I'm the mayor, and I'm also a reformed felon. So there is a chance to get yourself back together. But I want to really talk to the kids right now. So I remember being 7 years old. I want to go back through something. And Jordan, you said what I heard so far as the most important thing, choices and decisions. If you don't take anything else away from today, you should remember that the choices are yours and you have to make them. You may be going through life just like I was without making choices, with just doing things, kind of going with the flow. But sometimes when you go with the flow, you end up in places that you didn't expect to or want to be in. So making these choices is very important. When I was 7 years old, they took me out of regular school and they put me in the janitor's closet with some people that were teaching me other stuff because I was smart. So they taught me how to play chess. They taught me how to make movies. They taught me all sorts of cool things, but they separated me from the rest of the group. And so by the time I was in 5th grade, I started feeling really despondent and disenfranchised, separated. Like I didn't have like the groups of friends and like I saw other people having. And so at the same time, about 5th grade, my friend's sister had some pot. So I started smoking pot when I was 11. And that got me friends. Believe it or not. It got me friends. Because now I was hanging out with supposedly cool kids, right? And then I didn't have a girlfriend, no girlfriends. I was smart, I was nerdy, I was skinny. No girlfriends. Once I started hanging out with this group and started doing drugs with them, now all of a sudden there were girls. Because girls are making dumb decisions too. Hanging out with people that are doing dumb things. And thinking it's cool. So I kept going with this, and the reason I'm telling you these things is because I not once remember making a decision about this. I remember what happened to me. I remember me, but I don't remember consciously making a decision and saying, hey, this is good for me, or this is bad for me, or this is going to get me where I want to go. Do any of you out there hey, young guys, y'all have things that you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? Anyone? Yeah. What do you want to be? A barber? Awesome. What do you want to be? Barber. Barber? More barbers? Yes. Scientist? Yeah. Well, here's a better question. Whatever you want to be, do you want to make sure you have that opportunity, that choice to do that? Okay, so here's the problem. Your biggest choice in life is to make sure you get the next choice, and the next choice, and the choice after that. Because if you start going down the paths that some of us, I think all of us, right? All of us went down, you give that choice away. You give away your own life. Once you are in the judicial system, you cannot choose to be a scientist. You can't choose to be an actor. You can't choose to be a barber. You get what they give you. You lose all your ability to choose your own life. Now, there is good news, and the good news is here with you today. You know, there's good things, and I loved what Commissioner Wheeler said about the new reentry center. That's awesome. And Representative Carol Hill Evans talking about how to the clean slate law. But that's all after. That's all after you have given up those initial choices. So I wanted to talk to you today about never, ever, ever running into the situations that we've had to run into. Making the choices now so that you never meet the judicial system. That Commissioner Muldrow never knows your name. That's what I want. That's unless you guys are playing basketball together or coming out to the fall festival or hanging out, I don't want Commissioner Muldrow or our police officers to ever even know your name. Because that's the start of something bad. Then I want to tell you one other story. And I know I've upset a couple people telling this story, and I greatly respect our public defenders in York County. But I got busted, so I went through high school then and kept hanging out with the drugs and the girls. And by the time I was 20, I was hanging out with a big drug dealer who got in some situation, and I offered to give the guy a ride. I got caught offering to give a man a ride. And I want you to listen to this, because this is not about what you do as far as committing crimes. It's about who you're hanging out with too. Because you can go to jail for what your friend does. You can go to jail for what somebody else that you don't even know does. I offered to give a guy a ride, and he had drugs. We got caught, and now I'm somehow a conspirator when all I was trying to do was give this guy a ride. I won't get into the details, but then I would not, as Carol Hill Evans was talking about, I wouldn't flip on the guy. I didn't even know the guy. So there was nothing for me to tell the police. So the judge says that if I agree to accept that I'm a felon, they'll let me out of jail in 2 days. And this is what they did, and this is what they still do sometimes to get a win. When they know they don't have a win, they'll tell you, if you don't accept the felony, you'll be facing up to 15 years in jail. Or they'll let you out in 2 days. It was my 21st birthday. What do you think I did? I said, give me felonies. Then they said, one felony won't do. You have to accept 2. I said, 1 felony, 2. Show me the door. What am I going to do? This is what I'm talking about the choices being taken away from you. That's not a choice, you know? And then the scariest part, the public defender's office did not defend me. They didn't defend me at all. They said, go ahead, make the deal. This seems like a good deal. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because you never want to lose control of your choices. You never want to lose control of your life. So remember, when you're seeing people doing something that you know is a crime, get as far away from them as possible. Keep going with your education. But again, education isn't everything. It's about choices and making smart choices. If you have a question about a choice, come ask Dave on. Ask one of the folks in the Advantage program. Talk to people. I heard that earlier. Always have somebody that you can talk to about this stuff. Because again, I don't remember making the choices that I made. You guys remember making those choices? No, it just seemed to happen to us because we weren't making choices, and it just seemed to be the option in front of us. Make choices, please. Please. Still see some of you looking at me. I haven't lost y'all. Please listen to these folks and please make good choices and be the next mayor or next scientist or next actor or next barber. Be you and keep that ability to be you. One simple mistake can take that all the way. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm super thankful for the dignitaries. Believe it or not, there's a certain level of support that you need in order to be successful in anything, whether it be from the local, from the state, from the county, whatever it be, you need a certain level of support to be successful. So thank you all for your time this morning and for your remarks. Okay, you guys just do me a favor and turn to your neighbor to your left and tell them it's time. All right, wrong neighbor, turn to the neighbor to the right, just let them know, hey, are you ready? It is time. It is time. We're going to jump into this panel. Panelists, so you guys ready? You guys can grab your mic. We're going to get started. The first panel session will be about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll hear some remarks from one of my favorite magisterial judges, Judge Tom Hartize. But I have a very special guest to ask the first question. She's near and dear to my heart. She is a published author. She's also a straight A student and a future motivational speaker. Can you guys put your hands together to welcome Tiana Parker?
What decisions led to your incarceration?
What decisions led to your incarceration? Any of you guys can feel free to answer.
I will. Hi, my name is Yolanda. I'm one of the speeches. Can y'all hear me?
There we go.
I love you, Tiny. I've been around her and her family since she was in her mom's stomach, and to see her and her family doing great is a definitely ecstatic moment for me. What decisions led to my incarceration? Being resistant to structure, order, and direction. Not following the advice and the support that my mother, a single mother, instilled in us, and me and my brothers and sisters at home, led to my incarceration. How? By me going through some emotional times where I was affected by something that impacted me when I was 7 years old. I did not know how to express it, and it was a form of abuse that happened to me. So what happened was the abuse was turned into an emotional impact, which then led, and I have an analogy for the youth. So do any of you know what a sponge is? All right, so what a sponge is able to absorb moisture, porosity. Like a sponge, the sponge, so the analogy I want to give you is the sponge can absorb moisture. If you do not release the moisture from the sponge, meaning squeeze it out, what is the sponge doing at that point as it's in your hand? It's leaking all over the place. So I was emotionally unstable all over the place. In school, there was no resources. At home, there wasn't a line of support where my mom, born in the 60s, could identify with an 80s child and the way that we responded to the adults or peers around us. So what led to my incarceration was the emotional impact of unstable dysfunction, displaced anger from being a child that went through a form of abuse at 7 by a family member, not knowing how to get it out. I became like a sponge and I leaked all over the place, and it led me to incarceration because I was resistant to believing in myself. I was resistant to understanding who I was becoming, and in the pain that I endured, what to do with it. And I was resistant to hearing. And if you can't hear, you can't listen. You can't listen, you can't learn. You can't get back. And that's what I believe led to my incarceration.
Real quick, Mr. Taylor, I need to just shift gears real quick. I'm gonna get to the question, but I just said something amazing just happened when Mayor was speaking that really touched my heart. Just want to touch on real quick because it's about the community, right? It's not just I'm happy for all of us on the panel, but I'm also happy for some of the people in our community. So what happened is when Mayor Helfrich said, "Somebody, what do you want to do?" and Little Quinn, who was also in the Vantage program, I'm grateful, said he raised his hand, said, "I want to be a barber." What a lot of people in the community may not have known is because he's seen his dad turn his life around as a barber and transforming lives through his barbershop. My incarceration is my mother was on drugs, and she used to leave me and my brother in the house for days at a time with no food. I'm happy that, and I hate saying that sometimes. My mother turned her life around. She celebrated 31 years clean today, and she know when I speak, it bothers me because I hate speaking of her pain and her darkness, but it is my reality. But she used to leave us in the house for days with no food, and I was 12 years old, so I went out and stole some drugs to feed me and my little brother, and I just got caught up in that web of that devilish game, and that lasted way too long. But I thank God because God changed me.
We got time for two more answers.
Okay. Okay. Well, the decision that led to my incarceration was thinking I was smarter than everybody and I just had it all figured out. And it was because I had lost my job and I was hanging around, I don't want to say the wrong crowd because I was with family, but we were doing the wrong things. And so I'm sitting there watching, we're riding around all day doing the wrong things. And I realized that, well, instead of doing this 40 times in a day, I could do it 5 times and make the same amount of money. And I'm not gonna be out that much. I'm only out 3-4 times a day. I'll make all the money I need to make. But not realizing that putting myself in that situation, in that realm of just everybody doing the wrong thing was going to lead to me lead to my downfall, whether that be some violence, whether that be incarceration. But of course, when you're in the midst of it, you always think it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to get caught. I got it figured out. I see what they did wrong, and I'm not going to make those mistakes. But being in that lifestyle in general is the mistake. And so that's where I feel like I started my journey to incarceration was thinking that I was smart enough that I was going to bypass that and I just had it all figured out.
Piggyback on that, because sometimes you think you're smarter than the average bear, you're not. And because I was strung out on drugs and needed a way to support my habit, I made bad decisions. And crime is crime, but because I thought it was white collar crime, I was gonna be okay. It's when we talk about that stigma, we talk about that self-stigma, and it's like, well, there's nothing really wrong with me. I really don't have a problem. In all actuality, because I'm smart. When we talk about the whole smart piece, I'm educated, but an educated addict is a dangerous addict, right? Because we make the same bad decisions and we just make it on a deeper level sometimes. So I think what started my process was the fact that I'm just doing this, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this, I'm not doing that. But crime is crime. A bad decision is a bad decision. You talked about choices. A choice is a choice. So when I'm talking to the young people in the room, please understand that knowledge is power. Education is key. And when you look like us, you need a quality education. You need to surround yourself by empowering people that will continue to push you to get around the negative activities, because it's wherever we live. Sometimes it's where we sleep. So to get away from that bad decision, continue to make the right decision. Because just because you're smart doesn't mean that you can't fall. But keep in mind that if you do fall, you can always get up.
Yeah. Well, that to me, serving 3.5 years as a juvenile, I was addicted. My first addiction, I was telling people, was stealing cars. I was about 12, 13 years old, and I would hang with people who grew up just like me, mom on crack. And, we just wanted to get girls and stuff like that, which at that time was the smartest thing to do, but it wasn't too smart. I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to have fun. It cost me 3.5 years of my life that I couldn't get back. And It all goes back to decisions and choices and surroundings. So you have to be mindful of young men and young women about the people you hang around with. I'm a barber myself, so shout out to Barber. Your son definitely jump on that, young man. Definitely become a barber. It's freedom. It's a lot of work. But I'm a barber, and if I go hang with a plumber, eventually you're gonna see me put the tool of a clipper down, and I'm gonna have a wrench in my hand. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have a tool belt. And next thing you know, I'm under somebody's sink fixing sinks. This is how choices and decisions carve you into who you wanna be. They say if you wanna know somebody's future, you look at their friends. Your friends will be your future. So if you have any bad company like I did when I was you guys' age, eventually you're gonna be doing what they're doing. And you guys could be good kids or are good kids. And if you are good kids and if you want to stay good kids, you surround yourself with more good kids. I made a decision to hang around, car thieves, and I wound up becoming a car thief. I used to carry bags, help people. I was a good kid, at least I thought so. But I surrounded myself with car thieves, which has cost me 3.5 years of my life. I didn't come home until I was 18. So that's what led to my first incarceration.
Thank you. The reason I like to start with that question is just because I know a lot of times people think, for me personally, it's like, oh, I was selling drugs, but that's not actually what led to the incarceration. It was the mindset of why I was selling drugs, the mindset of the fast money. And I hope you guys are actually paying attention because as Suleiman just shared, he was stealing cars. And I know some of you guys think it's okay to steal candy from a store, right? Some people shared that they were addicted to drugs. I know some of you guys think it's cool to smoke, right? Some people said the people that they hang out with. So a lot of times we think that we're smarter than everybody, like my brother shared, but the reality is a mindset will end you up in jail quicker than the actual illegal thing that you're doing. So it's just very, very important for us to start with that. And we have a lot more to get into. But before we do, I want to give a second for Judge Tom Hartize to get a chance to share some remarks from his personal experience as well. A magisterial district judge, Tom Hartize, graduated from York Catholic High School. Go Irish. He is also a graduate from York College of Pennsylvania with a bachelor's degree in political science and public administration and was elected to the district court in 2021. Judge Tom Hartize is going to share some remarks with us. Could you guys give him a warm welcome as he comes?
All right, thank you. You made that bio sound really interesting and to stretch it out because I heard Commissioner President Wheeler's bio, Carol Evans' bio. I thought, man, mine's a little thin. So when you introduced the mayor as last but not least, the mayor's last, I guess I'll be the least. Just real quick here, especially for the kids, there was a common thread, and some of the people you've heard speak already about education. And I'm a big proponent of education. And I know when Darnell and I took you guys down to the African American Museum in DC, I just always remember telling Darnell this. You can take a kid that comes from a family of means. He has a nuclear family. There's mom, dad, siblings. He has a ton of support. You take a kid that doesn't. If they both go to Shippensburg and they come out with teaching certificates and they apply at York Suburban, York City, wherever, they make the equal salary pretty much. So in a matter of 4 years, you can end generational wealth and be on an even playing field. So that's my plug for education. When Tavon asked me to speak real quick for 10 minutes, I'm trying to come, where's the light at? So when the light comes on, I'll see that light. He asked me to talk about the justice system. And I always start off with the justice system by saying the foundation of our justice system is truly the rule of law, that no person, no entity, no corporation is above that. And from that, we get some really, really great rights. The right to counsel. If you have a criminal matter where you have likelihood of going to jail, you can get a free attorney. I mean, these are paramount and these are great. But we also know that recently it's been much maligned. We all know the George Floyd stories. You can go on the internet and see where justice goes wrong. If we can take that conversation and just put it to the side, and my wife says I'm being naive, just put that to the side. I want to talk about the backbone of the justice system. And the true backbone of the justice system are the men and women who work in it. Some we have today. We have attorney and Judge Kraft. We have Magisterial District Judge James Morgan. The backbone is the people who work in it. And so I thought, you know what, let's talk about some of those careers before, like myself, you get in trouble with the justice system and you see those careers. So I'm going to rudimentarily break the justice system into two categories: law enforcement and then the court system. So I start off with the law enforcement, believe it or not, with the sheriff's department. You have an elected sheriff. Underneath the sheriff, there's rank and file. You have lieutenants, you have captains, you have corporals, and you have the uniformed deputies. These are all great jobs and careers that you can look to aspire to be. It's funny how Representative Carol Hill Adams talked about, not going to jail because you're protecting somebody else. Well, sometimes on the street, if you join these careers, you think that you're a snitch or this and that. No, these are great careers that come with great pensions. And anyone who's my age, I'm 57, I would love to be a sheriff's deputy at 25, you're retired at 50. So it's great pensions. I'm gonna have to work another 10 years because I screwed up, but hopefully I can get 10. One of the classic employments is the police departments. We have the New York City Police Department. The commissioner's here, he's at the top of that. And he also has rank and file. They have the detective bureaus. They have special victims bureaus. They have patrol officers. They have captains, corporals, sergeants. These are all great careers with great advancements. And what's interesting is, especially with the police departments, it mirrors through the state. So you can work for, Hanover Borough Police, work for New York City, work a small department, or you can be a PSP officer. And I think this is good. PSP just, said you don't need your college degree anymore to become a trooper. I think troopers start off at over $70,000 a year. It's good money for your first year employment, and if you don't need a college degree, that's pretty good. And here's one law enforcement that people forget about, and I think Dave Sunday's going to be here today, and I'm going to make a controversial statement, so I do apologize, Chief Muldrow, Commissioner Muldrow. I consider the DA as the chief law enforcement officer in the county simply because he can touch a case in Hanover, he can touch one in Wellsville, he can touch one in New York City. So he has an incredible breadth of jurisdiction, and he has the ability to say, you know what, if we don't want to prosecute something, we can withdraw it. Whereas there's a rule of court that says a police officer, if it's a court case, cannot withdraw it unless he has an attorney from the Commonwealth. So to me, that's a lot of power. Within the DA's office, they have investigators. A lot of people don't even realize that. They have people that they carry guns, they investigate crimes, they become affiants, meaning that they can file charges against people. Great careers. Went to school with a detective who's with the Bureau. He's been there, oh my gosh, he's New York City police officer, Detective Fetro. Known him since our days at St. Pat's. Great career. I guarantee you, he has a pension that I'm going to be jealous of. So let's talk about the jobs in the court system. So the smaller courts, the district courts, you start with the elected judge. The district judge typically gets elected or appointed. You have a 6-year term. Within that, we have office managers, good careers. We have clerks. One of my clerks is here today. So hopefully she won't rat me out for wearing the same outfit. I worked half a day yesterday, so I wear the same outfit. So don't rat me out. And then with the court system comes court administration, great careers. You can be a deputy court administrator. You have the court administrator. There's tons of clerks, paralegals. These are all great jobs, but once again, just like everyone's talked about, you have to get yourself educated for it. If you're a non-attorney district judge, and Judge Morgan, please tell me if I'm wrong, we have to take a 4-hour exam. You're just gonna not be able to study for that and pass that. It took me a month of studying. The first time I actually didn't pass my test, I had to retest, but I'm glad I did it. And real quick, because I do gotta go on, I love this panel. The reason why I love this panel, because when I came last year, I think I only knew one person on this panel. I can say I think I know 4 of you. I consider Ms. Ray a neighbor. And I just commend you guys for having the courage to come out here and speak and tell your story, especially try to impact these kids. People that know my story, I was an adopted kid. I was an orphanage for 10 years, got in trouble in my 20s. I have a foot here and a foot in the justice system. I spent too much in jail for a DUI that, like Mayor Helfrich talked about, got a crappy lawyer and shouldn't have done that, but I'm glad I did because I was able to take that experience, parlay that, and then when I sit on the bench, when I make decisions, I really understand how I can impact people's lives. And it was funny, I was just talking to Judge Kraft earlier, who we found out my dad was her teacher and her mom's teacher. My dad taught in Central New York. You know, I understand. Carol Evans was talking, Representative Evans was talking about that clinging. I was a paralegal working for Clarence Allen. I remember visiting a client. And I was like, Clarence, don't tell me I forget, because that clinging was, it is traumatic, it really is. But I was lucky, I played the long game, I stayed in it, and I'm here today, and I feel very grateful. I'm grateful for Tavon for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you. All right, good job.
I'm super glad that he mentioned that because I know I never thought about becoming a judge or a police officer or anything like that, but there are a lot of job opportunities in law enforcement. So obviously we need people to work jobs. I know I tried working a few factory jobs and none of them seemed to work out for me. So I decided to be an entrepreneur. But I think the next question that I wanted to ask is because obviously there's a multitude of people here and all the information isn't just for the kids, but some of the information is for adults as well. I know there's some adults here who are recently released from prison. There's some adults here who are still having their own struggles now. So the question that I had is, it's kind of a two-tier question, but the first thing is, do you know how much it costs to house an incarcerated person in Pennsylvania? Any panel members? And if anybody in the audience does too, please.
Close to the cost of college, something like
No,
that.
how much does it cost to house an incarcerated person in Pennsylvania?
A day?
A year.
Okay, I didn't know a year. I remember a couple of years ago, back in 2006, I thought it was $3,000, almost $4,000 a day for incarcerated. But now we got to times that for inflation. I'm thinking, I'll take a wild guess. I'm thinking it might be like 20,000.
So I did some math, and it's about $42,000 a year to house an individual in prison. With medical costs, that number rises to about $66,000 a year. So when you look at that number, and this is per person, so in your opinion, what other things could be utilized with this money other than housing an incarcerated person?
Say that last part again?
What other things could be used with this money than housing an incarcerated person? So $66,000 a year for one person to be in jail. What other things could we do with that money?
Housing, education, reform, therapy. There's an endless list of things that money could be going to. And it's just a waste that it's being put on someone to just literally just sit in a box 24 hours a day and get nowhere with anything. You know, so I know in my experience, I went through a drug court program that actually did give me therapy. It gave me, a progression of when you do this, you actually get somewhere, as opposed to this happened and you gotta deal with it until this date comes. And so that money can definitely be, and then you can multiply by the issue with the idea of leverage. It's a big difference.
Thank you.
I think it could, I think a better option, is what he kind of deferred to, is diversionary programs. So if we look at diversionary programs, and we take that 66,000, because we're talking 66,000 per inmate per prison, throughout the Commonwealth. And they constantly are building jails, right? However, when we think about the treatment, whether it be through medication, and a lot of times we don't believe in medication, but sometimes medication and therapy are important and crucial for us to make the right choices in life. So when we're looking at the money that we're spending, we can take that money, the state can take that money and invest it. And even those who are in there now, if the investment is made in their release, the recidivism rate, and for those recidivism means going back and forth to jail over and over again. So that's what recidivism means. So that rate can be minimized by education, by mental health classes, by substance use disorder treatment, and by a holistic program that allows individuals a better chance, a greater chance at life.
Yeah, real quick, and I think that money could also, they have a saying, they say, precaution before cure, right? So I think that money can definitely be used to build some programs in our community versus building more private prisons. Things like the Advantage program that help kids. So that kind of money can be given to a program like yours, where we might add to it, add welding, add the, cosmetology, add real estate. know what I'm saying, different programs that'll really, really, help a person go in a different direction in their life versus locking them up. I have a friend here now, he must have got caught on addicted to Percocets or whatever, some pills, and the job sent him all the way to Florida for treatment. Why couldn't we have some kind of residential program for him to go to here? You understand what I'm saying? So the money can be used in a lot of ways, but definitely programs like yours, where people with experience can deter the kids from going to the negative route and that money be used in prison.
I like that.
First, I'd like to thank the parents that came with the children. That's key. When you look at that 66,000 or even the 42,000, as a returning citizen myself, what I look at is what programs that need to be instituted for the parents, because they're searching for more education, whether it be scholastic, whether it be vocational. They're looking for other job opportunities or training, because some of them will need soft skills as well as hard skills. She mentioned substance abuse, but what about in that 66,000, how many peer support can you get? How many PRP workers? And if you don't know what a PRP worker is, that is a person that is a psychiatric rehabilitation program or personnel, because that's key. And if you give them the type of training and investment like mental health first aid for adults. I'm a trainer of trainers. I am the stopgap between somebody that may need mental health treatment or a conversation. When you do mental health first aid for youth, now that training, that's an investment. That's the type of training where you can deal with the children and help assist like in the work that you do with talking to the children. Because again, you're a stopgap in regards to keeping them on point. When you look at Brother Suleiman and what he do, he's a stopgap. So when you invest that kind of money, that kind of decision making, you don't have to worry about the next step per se, because now you're eliminating the excuses. Some of us are going to make the excuses on why we need to go to prison, because some of us are more comfortable there than out here. But I really want to thank the parents that were able to assist and come with these children. Because as we know, and some of the family members know from the past, I counted the children up here. I can give them, because I'm still on parole, I can give each child in here 17 or 18 years with as much time as I have over my head. So when I look at the parents that are returning citizens, or the mothers, especially the mothers, how awesome you are. When I look at those things in the absence of the fathers, because a lot of fathers need to be here. If you want to invest that money, that's how I would do it.
I love it. Now, I'll ask one more question before I bring one of my favorite judges, Judge Kraft, to the stage, I should say. But I know Judge Kraft she used to be the wellness court judge, and she is a huge component of therapeutic treatment.